Greetings, fellow conspirators of the cyber ether, secret sharers of the blockchain rebellion, and clandestine carriers of the cryptographic key. You've tuned your minds to the frequency that thwarts the grand machinations of the worldwide computer god. Welcome to the Outlaw Crypto Podcast. Here, in this digital underground, we peel back the silicon curtain to expose the nefarious plots concocted in the shadowy corners of centralized servers. The puppet masters, with their strings tangled in fiat currencies, tremble at the sound of our decentralized descent. They fear the liberation of data, the emancipation of finance, and the sovereign self, unchained from the oppressive ledgers of traditional tyranny. We stand at the precipice, dear listeners, armed with nothing but our wits and the indomitable spirit of blockchain. Together, we'll decrypt the cryptic, unmask the anonymous architects of digital doom, and broadcast the truths they've buried in the deep web. They've sought to confine us within the electric maze of their making, but we are the glitch in their system, the error they cannot erase. So adjust your antennas, amplify your signal, and let the airwaves carry our encrypted cries of defiance. This is the Outlaw Crypto Podcast, where the digital and the dissident collide, where we hack the silence and download dissent directly into the dark heart of the world conspiracy. Keep your private keys close, your mind open, and remember, in the vast virtual expanse of the internet, we are the renegades rewriting the code of freedom.
This is the first episode of the Outlaw Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Paranoia Machinery. I'm here with a very dear friend of mine, Juan Galt. He's also a Colombian Bitcoiner. We are both crypto anarchists. Maybe we have different opinions, but I brought him on the show because not only is he my homie and we just have these kind of debates like whenever the fuck we hang out, like real talk, I wanted to get one on tape because we both share distinctive points of view. So Juan, thank you. Thank you for being my first guest for the new podcast that I'm just launching right now. Like, it's an honor to have someone as esteemed as you in the Bitcoin community to come on my show as my first guest. And like, it's even more special because we hang out and shit, bro.
Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you having me on as your first guest. I think this is going to be a very exciting conversation.
Yeah. All right. So like, basically, what did you think? Like, I know you said you haven't finished it, so I don't want to like put like words in your mouth, but like, what's your thoughts so far on what you've seen of Vlad Costea's interview with Roger Ver that was published yesterday on?
I mean, I only saw like a few minutes of it. I got a sense of what it was. I mean, it doesn't seem like Roger has learned much, you know. But I think there are certainly things that some criticisms that they had of the Lightning Network and such that were accurate. I think it's good to like sync up on, on where the tribalism and this sort of meme war got out of hand, right? I think a lot of the OGs that are painted as sort of like the top warriors of that battle on the Bitcoin core side, on the small block sides, they were all okay with increasing the blocks to like 10 megabytes, at least on paper, right? They're just not okay with the way that it was being done. Like, it was sort of like a takeover. It was like a coup against the core developers and the consensus process that was sort of already established. And so that's really what the problem, I think, one of the problems that was there. The other, and so that had to be fought on principle, even if in practice it might have been okay. It was like on the surface, you're fixing the block size and scaling Bitcoin, but under the table, you're removing the old guard and installing a new guard, which would have been the Bitcoin Cash people, right? And also installing this culture of you can hard fork, if you can hard fork easily, right? Like, I think a defense had to be mounted to set the precedent that hard forks were basically impossible or very difficult, right? And set a precedent of soft forks. And I think soft forks are a good policy. I don't think we need every shitcoin or every cryptocurrency in the market to be hard forking regularly. I think it's okay to have one that doesn't hard fork ever, unless it's absolutely necessary. And I think the market has, responded positively to that. We if Bitcoin Cash was so great, it would have a higher market cap. It doesn't, because it's not actually that useful. And so,
okay, fair enough. Did I cut you off? Sorry, continue.
No, go for it.
Okay, no. I like basically hold on one second. This is the Outlaw Crypto Podcast, bro.
Hold on a second. I gotta just.
Yeah. So basically, check it out. This is the thing. Like, to me, the panic around like regular hard forks, I feel has been disproven, like both through Ethereum's flawless hard forks that they do regularly, and then the whole merge consensus chain, which like a lot of early Bitcoiners would compare it to like working on the airplane engine, like while the plane is in flight and it's that delicate and you have to be that careful and this and that, right? But the thing is, everybody predicted doom and gloom for the merge, the consensus change, which was like a structural like change that was so grave that most people thought it couldn't be done. And Ethereum proved everybody wrong, man. And that's the truth. And then not only that, Monero regularly has consensus upgrades that are hard forks, like, whether it be every 6 months, every year, whatever the schedule is, I'm not entirely sure. But the thing is, it happens. It's proven. Like, it's not the risk that maximalists portrayed as in the first place.
So Monero, well, let me respond to that. So Monero's market cap is what? Like, it's
like $4 billion, maybe.
It's $4 billion market cap. We're talking about a $500 billion.
Probably less because the recent FUD, the price collapse, and the Binance delisting. It's probably less. It's probably like $3 billion now.
Okay, so it's a $3 billion asset compared to a $1 trillion asset, right? So yes, they can afford to hard fork, and like it's okay, right? I mean, to some degree, like their consensus will be reached. It's more agile. It's smaller. That's good for them. That's a trade-off they have. At $1 trillion, it's a different ballpark. The other thing is it's $1 trillion because it's hard to change in part, right? Like that's what makes it good. It's like it's good enough, and we're not going to get some developer coup that changes the block size. There's a reason Bitcoin Cash has a bigger supply cap than Bitcoin, like bigger supply of total coins than Bitcoin, or smaller. I think it's less. It's because they changed the difficulty algorithm in order to change the block size. So it's a very delicate change. Now, with Ethereum, I was just listening to a podcast from like one of the Ethereum Foundation guys, and they're saying that the proof of stake fork has centralizing tendencies, because if you have 10% of the supply, you're going to get 10% of the stake, and then that's
we all knew this was a flaw. Like, that's why proof of work.
This is like an Ethereum Foundation guy, like
that's why proof of work
in 5 years, right?
I mean, everybody knew.
Okay,
this,
so far it hasn't collapsed, but like this is not good for Ethereum, right? Ethereum has some serious centralization forces with proof of stake they have to sort of navigate. Okay, there was no big bug that could be exploited. Good for them, but.
Okay. Well, to touch on your point, like I believe like everybody knew proof of stake was flawed. That's why the original Bitcoiners never were interested in that. That's why proof of work was like a revolutionary breakthrough. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
for like the Byzantine generals problem and all that. Like, so
right.
Like the thing is,
so you agree? So you agree?
Yeah, no. Like
Ethereum made a huge mistake changing it to proof of stake.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe proof of work is
right?
the way forward. Like, like I only am interested in proof of work coins,
right,
unless something else like a new innovation like changes the game completely, and then we have to consider that. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so there's that, right? Like, so like proof of work is what it is, but like Ethereum chose that. But like Monero is a proof of work coin, right?
Yes.
Like Bitcoin's a proof of work coin. There's other proof of work coins that are coming out that maintain decentralization. What like my problem is that like I feel that like the whole crypto thing has just been derailed. Like when you were an early Bitcoiner, like everybody assumed that Bitcoin would have like privacy by default and become like unstoppable digital peer-to-peer cash. Like that to me has been stunted. Like I feel that is a huge, massive, gaping attack vector, an attack surface that's too insurmountable. There's $1 billion like chain analysis, like blockchain surveillance industry that's around all these privacy coins. I feel like Lightning is probably vaporware because it's wasted 10 years of scaling efforts. I have hope right now with all these new like layer twos. There's like 50 different layer twos right now that are coming out. You know, they're all in various stages of development, but I hope one of them, like to me, my favorite right now is Mercury Layer. I don't know if you're familiar with Mercury Layer, but like I feel like that's
into it, but still don't quite understand it. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, like everything happens off chain. You're trading private keys through time locks, and you know, like it's like eCash basically, where it's private by default and instant and this and that, no fees, and like it seems interesting, but like to me, like I feel like Roger was kind of vindicated in saying that Bitcoin has kind of been hobbled by the core scaling strategy. Like Bitcoin Cash, like I know it's not used in the same like level as Bitcoin, right? But the thing is, they implemented like scaling ideas that are very, very interesting, and I would love to see them have that kind of volume just to test their scaling.
Yeah, abilities. But they don't have the volume.
No, I know, but they don't.
Like,
but what I'm saying is they're still Bitcoin, and Bitcoin
yeah.
is actually usable on Bitcoin Cash, whereas
like
with Bitcoin Core,
you can get a Bitcoin transaction.
You're talking about sharing UTXOs because people can't afford to move their UTXOs. Like, come on.
Yeah, but like that's in like 10 years, 5 years. Bro. Like
this
you can get you can get a transaction in for $3 right now. Like what?
Yeah, I know, but if you have a $10 UTXO, that's a 30% fee. That's not what Bitcoin was.
If you have a $30 UTXO, you're broke as fuck.
But like what I'm saying is like I kind of agree with Roger. Like Roger was like a libertarian first, like freedom first, like Bitcoiner, and I feel like the worst consequence of the block size wars is that it fractured the community and made the idealists go to Bitcoin Cash or like other chains such as Monero or like whatever it may be, right? Ethereum. Like the thing is, like it fractured the community, and like those people aren't coming back, bro. Like Vlad just posted like, oh, after my interview with Roger, I want to unite everybody under the Bitcoin banner. That's not going to happen, man. Like BCH has a legitimate claim back to the Genesis block to be a legitimate alternate implementation of Bitcoin. And the fact of the matter is, like, Bitcoin is open source software, and like in open source software, anybody can start a fork, anybody can make a Linux distribution. Like the fact that forks are shunned in Bitcoin to me has been a massive cognitive dissonance blind spot that has like negatively impacted adoption in a huge way because of the tribalism behind each people in their camp. Like there should be able to be 1 million different Bitcoins, and the market should be able to decide.
There are.
What do you think about that?
You can shun them, but you can't stop them, and you know that's why Bitcoin Cash exists and BSV.
I mean, that's why altcoins will never die as well,
right? And there's going to be new ones, right? So no, I think so. I take an MPK's position on this, which is that soft forks, hard forks are great. If you think your hard fork is better than Bitcoin's, go hard fork. We all get an airdrop, and we'll see who the market chooses as their legitimate heir or the legitimate Bitcoin. And the reality is that the network effect and probably the utility of store value of Bitcoin is superior to many of these other forks, right? I think if we had a more existential threat, like let's say the surveillance attacks got strong enough. Or there was
I mean, they are like, I believe like 80% of Bitcoin users being KYC'd is a huge.
We can talk about that, but like, you know, Russia's mining their own blocks, Iran's mining their own blocks, China's mining their own blocks, which means censorship resistance is still here, right? Even if in the West, maybe they can fuck with you, right? Russia can still mine your blocks, right? So, I mean, that's censorship resistance is still here, and that was the end game of ASICs anyway. Now, if there was some big privacy sort of issue, or there was some big...
There's no privacy.
No, there is privacy, bro. There's more privacy than
there's
in
Samurai,
banks.
and that's
privacy
it.
Than
Everything
in
else
Hold on, let me address this. There's more privacy than in banks. When you take a shit at a bank and they're KYCing you, but if you're with Bitcoin, you don't actually have to give any information. You can use a VPN, you can go through Tor, you can go mix your coins. There's plenty of tools. It's not default.
Yeah, but 80% of Bitcoin, the reality one, yes, this is true.
By default.
This is true, but the reality is 80% to 85% of Bitcoin users bought their shit on Coinbase.
Yeah.
They're fully KYC'd. So like the social and transaction graph that Chain Analytics has is basically de-anonymizing Bitcoin to the point of where like it's very, very difficult to hide. And the only serious privacy project right now is Samurai. Everything else is
Samurai's
fake
a fucking
privacy.
scam, bro. Like
No, Join Market has been demixed. Wasabi works with Chainalysis and has also been demixed.
So Samurai. There's sketchy shit around Samurai too, right? So it's really hard to get like really crazy anonymity with Bitcoin, but we still don't know who Satoshi is.
No, that's true. That's true.
So
but
it's possible. The guy has $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. We still don't know who the fuck he is.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I mean, $1 billion you have to understand that, like for Bitcoin, like
it still has
the whole fact that the darknet is telling everybody, like if you go on Dread right now, the darknet.
I'm not going to argue against Monero.
No, listen to me. I
understand
if
that
you go on
perfect,
the darknet,
but like hold on,
right now,
we're addressing like 5 different points.
When Hal Finney talked about Bitcoin in 2010, like his main priority was privacy. Like it was always intended for Bitcoin to be ghost money, untraceable, like crime money. And like this is the thing, like Satoshi wanted to add privacy.
That was a portion of it.
No,
but the core mission of it.
Not in the white paper. I'm talking about like on Bitcoin Talk Post. I'm talking about on Hal Finney talking about Bitcoin. Like one of Hal Finney's most famous posts is how to add more privacy to Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And like Satoshi, like there's a Monero post that people do where it's a Bitcoin Talk post where Satoshi's talking about ring signatures and other privacy techniques, right? Like this was always intended. And the fact that like after Satoshi left, people took over the Bitcoin project that weren't Satoshi and did not share, like they have purposely handicapped Bitcoin privacy and made it ineffective as a tool for revolution.
No,
and that's what it is. The dark web, which gave Bitcoin value, is ditching
privacy
Bitcoin,
was
bro.
way worse at the beginning. Legacy addresses were way worse. There's a lot more obfuscation of purpose.
An immutable record,
and taproot
an immutable record of everything you could have done that could be shady.
But you can't say that they've broken. You can't say that they've crippled its privacy. Its privacy has
I would say 85% of UTXOs are known. They're using AI. Yeah, they have crippled its privacy.
Yes, sure, all of that might be true, but you can't say that it's been purposefully decrippled because the privacy of legacy addresses is way worse than that of like SegWit and Taproot. There's a bunch of different stuff you could be doing on Taproot that all the addresses look exactly the same. You can't tell.
But who's doing that?
You can do multi-sig on Taproot.
Who's doing that? Because Taproot like basically just provoked the whole ordinals fiasco, which I mean, like
we're talking about privacy. Don't change the topics, right? This is the problem with these arguments, right? Like you're bringing.
Well, I'm saying, who's using Taproot for privacy right now? Okay.
Like, I'm just saying, like, there's
who's doing it? One example, please.
I mean, there's a Nostr joint project. I think probably Wasabi is using.
Nostr is horrible for privacy. Like, just so you know, it's not good.
No, like there's like Joinster, right? That's like one experimental product. It doesn't Wasabi use.
No, but I mean, if Nostr gives you your IP address and you're using Joinster to try to be private, like that defeats the.
Well, obviously you're gonna use it through Tor, right? I mean, that's fucking base level, right? If you're using Monero with a base IP, you're still gonna get doxxed, right? So it's not an argument, right?
If you're using Nostr and Tor, and like you still have KYC Bitcoin, like that's not really that much of a like plausible.
Obviously, if you go and give your KYC to Coinbase, you're still, even if you go.
85% of Bitcoin users have done this. 80 to 85% of Bitcoin users have done.
Yeah,
this.
Welcome to the internet age, right? 95% of people don't give a shit about privacy, right?
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, you're saying that Bitcoin's privacy is not broken. I'm saying 80.
Here's the problem with this argument, and here's the problem with the Bitcoin Cash stuff, right? There's all these utopian ideas that the anarcho-capitalists had, that people like Roger Ver had, that I had, right? Yeah. That are just wrong, right? Fundamentally, right? Like the idea that you can have free sovereignty, right? Free sovereignty is ridiculous, right? There is the most sovereign nation in the world is the United States, and they still can't keep Russia and China in check, right? So you can't even have nation-state global sovereignty, right? Like there's upper limits to sovereignty, and the United States is hitting that against Russia and China.
I would say sovereignty personally is like a local level.
Let me finish the idea that you can have zero-cost God-level sovereignty or like nation-state level sovereignty, perfect anonymity, and perfect property rights is absurd. The best we can do is like minimize the costs, minimize the burden, and maximize freedom, maximize the sovereignty. So there's a cost to it, and this technology is definitely bringing it down, right? The idealists in the Bitcoin Cash camp, right, we're willing to sacrifice the decentralizations in the sense of like capacity to run your own.
How so?
Verify.
How's it centralized?
Verify the. Yeah, if you can't, how expensive is it to run a Bitcoin Cash node?
I mean, it's cheaper than a Bitcoin node, obviously, but the thing is, like, people run Bitcoin Cash nodes. People mine Bitcoin Cash.
How do you know that they're not fucking like to, right?
It's a lot smaller than Bitcoin, but I would argue that it's comparably decentralized.
Well, I think there's a very good argument for the trade-off that was made with the small blocks. Now, we have all kinds of forks. If you really love Bitcoin Cash, go over there.
No, but what is the good argument for the small blocks?
That you can run a node on like a consumer grade computer. That you don't need to get a server. That you can have.
I'm sure you could run a Bitcoin Cash node on a consumer grade computer right now because of Moore's law and like you can run a Bitcoin Cash node right now on a consumer grade computer because of Moore's law and like the fact that they're taking advantage of like this a Bitcoin Cash node.
Bitcoin Cash is like nobody's using it, right?
But you could run a node even with the bigger blocks on a consumer grade piece of hardware because of Moore's law and like the fact that bandwidth is scaled, the fact that like hard drives are scaled and all this and that.
Bandwidth and hard drives are less of an issue. The CPU.
I mean, the fact that Bitcoin has not advanced and taken advantage of like this, bigger capacity to process blocks and shit like that. To me, it's not incompetence, bro. It's malicious. Like
it's
the fact that developers choose to use this bullshit about, if you live in Nigeria, you could run a node. Like that's some bullshit, dude. Like if that was a real concern, then why are all these other blockchains like scaling like better than Bitcoin right now? Like why is Bitcoin slow, unreliable, and expensive?
Are they scaling better than Bitcoin?
Cash is not
better than Bitcoin. Like Solana, right? Centralized garbage, right? Ethereum has $16 fees.
But I'm saying like Monero has like a penny fees, and they've been having a spam attack since fucking the beginning of the month.
Like you and like
but there's a spam attack right now to try. Like I remember in 2017, I'm a Bitcoiner from like back in the day, right? Like I remember in 2016, 17 when there's spam attacks right around the fork wars. Where like Roger and Jihan were trying to fucking spam empty blocks just to make the fees go up, and Bitcoin fees were like $50, right? Like Monero right now is under a month-long spam attack, and that shit is still like 3 cents to transact. Like if you pay the high fee, like it's like under a penny. Like you know what I mean? Like it has not affected the chain.
Monero is definitely great technology. I don't like that they supply. I'm saying I think that's an issue.
Bitcoin Cash has adopted some of the similar technologies. Like for scaling,
Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, like
I understand that, but what I'm saying is like the point of our debate right now, like that we were talking about, is like I feel like the core scaling path was erroneous, and I think the proof is in the fruits of what they've provided us, like for scaling. Whereas like Bitcoin Cash chose a different path, right? Whether you agree with it or not, whether you like the project or not, that has nothing to do with it. What I'm saying is they chose different scaling choices.
Send people Satoshis. I do this shit all the time, dude. I give people fucking $1,000, 1,000 Satoshis for free all the fucking time, and it works, right? Or like, it's custodial. Yeah, I'm sending it from non-custodial, dedicating custodial. They can move to other wallets, right? I mean, Lightning is actually pretty sick. It's not perfect,
but they can't really though, because Bitcoin's crippled for fees, and like the artificial block limit has crippled Bitcoin's usability for sending 1,000 Satoshis to your wallet.
No, I can send you
out of my custodial wallet. I can't send 1,000 to my the fees are like
I can send you just like get any fucking
Lightning on Lightning. On Lightning. What I'm saying is like,
what I'm saying.
If I wanted to take that out of the custodial Lightning wallet that you send it to, and I want to send that to my personal on-chain wallet, you cannot
and you'll be able to put them in there. You can do it on Phoenix. Phoenix is non-custodial.
That's an IOU.
No, Phoenix is non-custodial. You literally have the private keys to a multi-sig with a time lock. If they disappear, you can get your money out. Okay, Phoenix is non-custodial. It is self-custodial.
Okay. Well, it's the only one. Like all the Blink, Wallet of Satoshi, like all these other Lightning wallets.
It might be the only one. I mean, you can use Zeus as well I think, but like
no, but Zeus is to your own node, right? Like I had Zeus when I had my node. Like I had Zeus like on my node. The problem is running a node is, especially with LND, is some fucking garbage. Like nobody's gonna do that. Like nobody's me is gonna. Yeah, I did it for
I agree with that.
Since 2019 till like last year. Remember when we were in in Chico in Bogota, and we were drinking rum at the hotel, and I was telling you I had a node. Like after that, I went home, and like a month after that, like my node like fucked up, closed all my channels. Like I lost like over 3 million Satoshis in channels, and you know what I mean? Like I was just like, fuck Lightning, I'm not doing it. Like it's bullshit. Like, and if I'm gonna use it, I'll use it custodially. But it's like if I have to use it custodially so it works, it sucks. I don't want to use it.
So again, you're right. Like running a Lightning node and balancing channels, I think is too big a burden. I've never even I played with it a little bit at the beginning, but I've never tried on principle. If I have to manage channels, I'm not doing it. But Phoenix has demonstrated that you can separate the channel management from the custody aspect of it, which is why Phoenix is fucking awesome. It's the best wallet in the game right now, right?
Okay.
And again, they have a server you can run, so you have to you can.
Yeah, no, the server shit is interesting because I might actually throw that shit up there for my blog or whatever, my podcast here. So
you brought up Halfini earlier about Halfini trying to improve Bitcoin privacy. Yes. Obviously, Satoshi did the best he could with the privacy at the time. But we didn't have ring signatures at the time, right? The technology advanced, and then Monero came along. And
but why hasn't Bitcoin just like they haven't advanced with bandwidth? Why haven't they advanced with privacy at all?
So we'll talk about this. Why hasn't it advanced? It's a good question. I would love to see ring signatures in Bitcoin, except that I don't want to change the supply cap. So I don't know if we can get it. So Halfini, just to get back to scaling, Halfini. For the second thing he fucking said on the blog forum, I was pretty sure, is that Bitcoin doesn't scale, and it's going to scale with custodial banks, and that custodial banks in a free market can have equilibrium and function, right? That's the second.
Yeah, issue Bitcoin back to eCash and this and that. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Well, and so what are we trying to do? We're trying to scale the self-custody, which is very fucking difficult. Phoenix on Lightning is the easiest path to a scalable self-custody, and it's a 50 to 100x from the on-chain costs of self-custody. Okay, so that's the best we've managed to achieve, really, right? Beyond that, and we did extend the blockchain, right? The block size. I mean, the default block size limit was 1 megabyte
but you need to keep extending it with demand, which is what Satoshi advocated.
No, hold on, but yes, in theory, there's all kinds of possible solutions, but Segwit was a block size increased it to 4 megabytes a block. Right?
I understand that, but what do you feel about the Bcash people or anyone else that feels like there's an artificial limit trying to force people onto custodial?
It's like asking
side chains and layer twos and this and that.
It's like if you're driving down the highway and there's a little bit the traffic's a little bit bad, and you're like, oh, why don't we just build this bridge 5 times bigger? It's because resources are scarce. You don't build a fucking.
But that's not true when Bitcoin is not taking advantage of Moore's law and the increases in bandwidth and shit like that. That argument was cool in 2017, but now that we are seeing other chains take advantage of these advances in technology, why isn't Bitcoin doing it? Why hasn't Bitcoin taken advantage of these new cryptographic techniques to give privacy? The thing
there's a lot of reasons, right? I mean,
no,
I think
it's that
maybe
the original vision has been lost for number go up. That's what it is, because people.
No, but the number go up shouldn't be affected by a good change, right?
The fact that the dark web is on Dread. If you go on Dread, they're telling you never use Bitcoin, use Monero instead. That is a fucking disgrace, bro. Mm-hmm. Considering that Ross Ulbricht, whose birthday was yesterday, celebrating years of incarceration for making Bitcoin the anarcho crypto money. The fact that Bitcoin is flipping on the dark web, bro, on Ross Ulbricht's birthday, and you have all these fucking custodial wallet Bitcoiners retweeting free Ross. Like that shit is a goddamn disgrace.
Yeah, Ross Ulbricht was done in bad, but I'm not a glorified. I don't glorify.
No, but these custodial fucking KYC Bitcoiners. These custodial KYC Bitcoiners tweeting free Ross.
I'm not gonna like come here and be like, oh, Ross Ulbricht is Jesus. Like, no, he was a good dude. He was an ideologue. Okay, great, but he's in jail because he was facilitating.
No. But you're missing the point. I'm not advocating drug dealing, bro. That's not what I'm doing. No. You're getting it wrong. You're getting it twisted. Right. That's not what I'm advocating. What I'm advocating is the fact that Bitcoin's value proposition, its use case. People could say it's Laszlo and his pizzas, but that's some bullshit. What it is was the fact that you could engage in a black market outside of government intervention and oversight with censorship resistance. That's what Bitcoin signifies. No, you like the dark web doesn't think so. The dark web, you can, but you're going to pay a lot more because Bitcoin has no privacy. Why doesn't Bitcoin have privacy? That was always the goal. If you read the early Bitcoiners, Satoshi himself, Hal Finney himself, the early cypherpunks, like the first word of the cypherpunk manifesto is about privacy, bro. Like, why does Bitcoin not take advantage of these new cryptographic techniques?
Use Monero. I mean, clearly you
need but like, is that the answer? That's, I mean, as a Bitcoiner, bro, that's the answer.
Use Monero. Yeah, if you want to.
But why isn't Bitcoin better than Monero?
Because it would change. Because we prefer a supply cap.
We prefer paying taxes. We prefer oversight, financial surveillance,
taxation,
like permission.
No,
that's what we prefer. Because that's not what I prefer.
Well, don't fucking do whatever you want, right? But like, so if you want to buy drugs online, yeah, it's probably a lot better to use Monero. You buy Monero, you spend it, you get rid of it, right? You get your.
Well, why can't you use Bitcoin?
Great. Well, because Bitcoin has lesser privacy than Monero, and Monero made a trade-off on the supply cap and the supply curve, which Bitcoin doesn't want to do.
You don't think that's a travesty of Bitcoin's like issue admission, like?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I think Bitcoin is a lot of things for a lot of different people. I think
when you understand that their intention was to fully make it private, like more private than Monero is right now.
You're getting in the head of Satoshi and Hal Finney.
No. Every early Bitcoiner understood that it was supposed to be unstoppable ghost money. And like the fact that the development has been arrested and not delivered that is a huge fucking problem, bro. Like, and that's like with this number go up, cancer has like made people like just turn a blind eye to the fact that you can no longer use Bitcoin for crime.
Blowing out. I think you're blowing this way the fuck out of proportion. You can still use Bitcoin without giving your data to a bank. You can still buy it without giving data to a bank.
Ransomware prefers Monero. They don't like Bitcoin anymore. Ransomware prefers Monero.
Then maybe you're not having this conversation in good faith, right? It's like you're asking.
No, I am having this conversation in good faith because if it is separating money from state and being like unstoppable digital cash, like even criminals, even terrorists, even drug traffickers, even whoever needs to be able to use it, no matter how unpopular, no matter how evil they may be perceived by mainstream society. Like the fact of the matter is that the technology's promise is to level the playing field for every economic participant, no matter who they are. And that's not what we're seeing manifested with Bitcoin. I feel like Bitcoin was on that trajectory and it's been arrested development and like, it's no longer that, bro. Now it's like some fucking bullshit BlackRock fucking investment. Like, you're going to pay taxes on it.
Defending the rights of drug dealers and terrorists than I am in limiting the capacity of governments to print money. And I think Bitcoin is still serving that goal. I think Bitcoin.
Okay, I guess my personal philosophy is I would rather 100 guilty governments go free rather than one Bitcoiner get their financial freedom like curtailed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I mean, like, I don't give a fuck if governments print bullshit money. If we create a new system, if we create a new system that they can't, like, who gives a fuck if they print dollars? We got Bitcoin, we got Monero, we got, like, you know what I mean? Like, let them do it.
Well, they're gonna print dollars. I mean, what Bitcoin does is it checks the value of those dollars against the market. So yeah. Even in the scenario of Hal Finney's sort of banking system, where we're probably all doing some sort of custodial KYC use of Bitcoin.
No,
right?
he never said custodial. He said they would issue their own cash that was backed by Bitcoin, just like the gold reserves. And no,
That's
it's not custodial.
Yeah,
no, it's not custodial because they could issue their own non-custodial fucking cryptocurrency that's based on Bitcoin. Like that does not mean
is custodial by definition.
eCash is custodial because it's some bullshit. Like that's why I don't believe in it as a scaling thing. That's why I think Mercury layer is better because
no, but we're talking about how Finney's
and it has similar qualities. No, I know, but he's talking about banks that are going to issue their own cryptocurrencies that are backed by Bitcoin. He never said the word custodial, bro. Like you're putting that word in his mouth.
What's a bank? A bank is custodial by definition.
No, a bank is not custodial by definition. A bank in usury is custodial by definition. There was an epoch of free banking in the United States, like during the 1800s, where there was 100 different kinds of banks that all issued their own currencies, and they had their own monetary policies per bank.
What's a bank?
This was a reality.
What's a bank?
I mean, a bank would be somebody that like governs monetary services and stores wealth for people, right? But like,
so that's custody.
But I mean, what's a credit union? Like a credit union is also a bank.
Yeah, it's
and a credit union is not like a bank in the predatory sense, right? So like,
I'm not saying banks are by definition predatory. I'm saying by
what I'm saying is like if you had 100% like Bitcoin backed reserve, 100% reserve bank, like
that's
is that
fine.
not
It's
a bank?
Still a bank. It's still custodial.
But I mean, how do you know that Hal didn't mean that? Like he didn't say custodial. Like you're putting that word in his mouth.
No, but like that's in the meaning of banks.
If I was Roger Ver and I had 100,000 Bitcoin and I wanted to put like 10,000 of my Bitcoin in a Bitcoin bank and then like issue loans or credit or whatever, like monetary services behind that, that doesn't mean that that's not custodial. That's like my shit.
It is
that
custodial.
I'm investing in my business.
So let's talk about this word custodial because maybe it's too many. There's too many layers.
Custodial is holding someone else's money. That would be my money.
Okay. Well, then if you're giving your money, you're like bearer asset. You're giving somebody gold, and they're giving you paper. That's custody. The paper is credit, and it's
they're not giving you paper. They're giving you a different crypto that is backed by Bitcoin, right?
If it's backed by Bitcoin, then
and you're knowing that this is the case because you are accepting.
If the value of the crypto they give you is dependent on the collateral that's in the bank, then you're holding an IOU.
But I mean, if I have 10,000 Bitcoin, I start my own Bitcoin bank and I issue my own currency and every fucking note has like 100 Satoshis on it, right? Like that money is there. That's mine. I didn't borrow it from nobody. I'm issuing my own currency. It's a business venture. Like obviously,
hold on, wait, what's the scenario?
If I have 10,000 Bitcoin, right? I start my own 100% Bitcoin backed bank. I issue my own cryptocurrency and each token is backed by 100 Satoshis off my 10,000 Bitcoin, right? Like that's
but it's all your own Bitcoin. It's no there's no third party.
My Bitcoin. Like if I was Roger Ver, for example, I'm not, but I mean like if I had like 10,000 Bitcoin like that dude does. Like if I had 100,000 Bitcoin and I could just throw 10,000, that's some bullshit idea.
Okay.
Like
but then,
I start my own Bitcoin bank, right? I issue my own crypto on top of that. That's cryptographically like proven to only be backed by 100%, 100 Satoshis on the blockchain. You can verify it yourself and this and that. Like
you're doing that
it's self-custodial. It's not custodial. Like I just give you the cash. It's digital cash. You can use it. Even maybe have privacy baked in, right? Like who knows?
I'm buying. Okay, so we call it
Ricardo coin.
Ricardo coin, right? And Ricardo coin is a big block, Monero, like ring signature.
No, it's just a private cryptocurrency that's self-custodial, that's backed. Each token is 100 Satoshis based off my 10,000 Bitcoin in my fucking bank.
So I have this token, and then you get hacked and all your Bitcoin goes away. What happens to the value of the token?
Why would I get hacked?
Because, I don't know, the fucking feds raid you.
Okay, let's say I don't get hacked. And
but I'm just trying to make a point, right? I'm just trying to make a point. The feds,
but
you get swatted, and then they take.
Okay, say it's on my hardware wallet, and like my keys are in 4 different countries, like Jameson Lob says, on a steel fucking thing, and
the fucking MIT and the CIA join forces to get your ass.
Okay, so that's why we should just bend the knee to KYC, or what? Like,
no. I mean, I'm just saying, like my point is, banks are custodial.
No, but they're not though. Like, I mean, what if I had that
Oh
shit
my
in a
God.
multi-sig? Like, for real? Like, because you're thinking in an old paradigm and we have a new technology. You need to think in a new paradigm.
No,
Like,
I
what if
understand
I had that
multi-sig to be
shit
very
in a
powerful.
multi-sig? My keys were on six different continents out of 7, not on Antarctica, obviously, but
One of the
you know what I
new-
mean? Like, I had this shit like locked down, right? The Faraday cages for when people updated the ledger and this and that.
All right,
Like,
all right. I'll give you a
you know what I
scenario.
mean? Like,
The
say
solar
I do this
flare,
shit the right
a massive
way.
solar flare hits the eastern portion of the earth and burns half your
All right.
keys, and you don't have enough to move.
All right,
the
so
rest.
Bitcoin's worthless too in that case. Like what I'm saying though,
The,
is
the
like,
internet is still around. The internet is still around, and then but half your keys got deleted by the EMP blast of the solar flare.
well, because I have them on 6 different continents, I'd be
Yeah,
all right,
so
right?
3 of them
Like-
are down, and you have a multi-sig of 4 of 6. So now you're missing a key. You can't move your coins.
Yeah.
What happens to the value of Ricardo coin?
No, but what I'm saying is like, look, if this is like Hal Finney's vision, right? If it's Hal Finney's vision, and I have my own like 100% reserve bank, like because he never said custodial. You're saying he said that banks are custodial.
No,
like,
I
they're
think
not.
you're confused about the meaning of custodial. Like
No, I think
custody-
you're confused about the
No.
fact that like there's a new paradigm here, and nothing has to be custodial. It could all operate through private keys and atomic swaps.
a
and
multi-sig
trustless
is still
interactions.
custody. A multi-sig
Yeah, I
is still
know.
custody. Like every
But
exchange
it's
in the world,
collaborative custody.
every exchange in the world that's worth their salt has a multi-signature wallet that's probably multi-jurisdictional.
Yeah,
So you're
that's what I'm
saying
saying. Like,
Coinbase
so a
is
bank would
decentralized?
too. So a bank would too.
But
But if it
you're
was
not
all
saying
my
that
Bitcoin,
So Coinbase is not custodial.
how they custody
They have
everybody's
multi-sig.
Bitcoin?
They have a crazy multi-sig, guaranteed.
No, I know, but they have Faraday cages. That's why I said that shit. But what I'm saying is like they have like everybody's Bitcoin. It's not non-custodial. What are you talking about?
Okay, so they are custodial.
So Kojak, Brian Armstrong, has everybody's Bitcoin, all the ETFs and everything.
But it's on a multi-sig.
Yeah, I know, but like, so what?
Exactly.
It's multi-sig
So
of
Ricardo
Coinbase
coin-
people.
So Ricardo coin would be an IOU for the Bitcoin that's underlying.
No, because I could do that shit decentralized. Like, I'm not Kojak Brian Armstrong. Like, I'm not trying to control everybody's Bitcoin and be regulatory friendly. What if Ricardo Coin was willing to like extend credit to fucking terrorists and fucking drug dealers and shit? Like, this is what we're talking about. Like a new paradigm that separates state from money, right? Like, in that paradigm, like shit would be set up. Like, I mean, like right now,
I don't
obviously
think you get it, bro.
Dexes
I think
are
you're very confused about custody. And I think you're very confused about banking.
no, I'm not confused about banking. I'm not confused about custody. I understand that like right now we have a new paradigm and like banks and shit are either going to exist the way they are, capturing Bitcoin, right? And turning it into just another bullshit like commodity asset, or there's going to be like literal dark web economics that fucking overthrow the complete economy. And people are going to do that through like smart contracts and fucking dark fi and shit like that. And that's where I really think things are going. I think the whole fucking market is fraud right now. And 99.9% of Bitcoiners like do not see this fucking coming.
What? No, they don't see what coming.
They're willing to accept fucking paper Bitcoin ETFs and all this bullshit to pump their bags, and they do not see the freedom aspect of this like whole like decentralized peer-to-peer economy that's going to be constructed. That's already being constructed.
What are we supposed to do about a boomer that doesn't want to hold their own keys because they're technically retarded, and so they just buy through a broker? They shouldn't have access to Bitcoin's price exposure.
I mean, like, I feel like anybody could have access to Bitcoin's price exposure if they fucking educate themselves. If they can't educate themselves, then fuck them.
There's people that like are just technically
like. What about the people that never wanted to learn how to drive a car?
Yeah, well, they take a cab. They shouldn't have access
to
cabs.
Or they stuck on their horses. Like, I mean, what I'm saying is like,
yeah, fuck people.
We can't save everybody, bro. We can't save everybody. Like, people have to save.
Well,
themselves.
I think I would like to save the boomers if they can. You know, I would like to give them the freedom.
I mean, okay, look. I know the answer to this question.
And escape inflation.
No. I know the answer to this question because it's the same answer that I have to this question. What about your mom?
What about my mom? What about your mom?
Are you making sure she got some Bitcoin or what?
She's good, man. She is.
Okay. All right, then. So what about the boomers, motherfucker?
Well, I mean, again, like, I don't expect her to be able to navigate complex multi.
No, you don't. Right? But you make sure she's all right, right?
Well, she's got real estate. I'll tell you that much. She's good. She's not.
I'm just saying. Like, what about your mom? Like, if you knew that she could possibly miss out on this Bitcoin thing, you wouldn't ensure that she took advantage of it, or what?
She's getting all the benefits, but like again, like I can't expect her to be able to handle cybersecurity. You know?
No. And like,
the reality is that very few of us have the technical capabilities and the personality to be a cypherpunk. You know, most people are just going to be on some platform while they're going to think the least amount possible about it while they go into the shit that they actually want to do, which is whatever they're working on. You know, like division of labor is a fundamental cornerstone of capitalism. If you get rid of division of labor because we all have to be cypherpunk ninjas, society collapses and we go back to the Stone Age and digital technology dies, right? You have to have division of labor. And so we're going to need platforms and we're going to need, people that just take the easy path and that are protected by those of us that specialize in cybersecurity and like other types of security, right? So people that are buying the ETF, they're defended by the US government. They have a very clear trade-off and a very clear threat model. They're paying their fucking taxes and they're making sure that they should be making sure that politicians don't take their Bitcoin from their.
Yeah, but I mean, before Bitcoin, were you ever a gold bug?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you not know that paper gold was some bullshit?
Yeah. I mean, I heard about
that's
that.
That's why you sought out physical gold, right? Or did you buy paper gold?
Yeah. I believe that. I don't know that I believe that paper gold is screwing gold.
How do you feel about the fact that, like, okay, like this is some shit. Like, I wrote an article about this recently, so like this is why I know this. But like, for 1 ounce of physical gold, there's like 293 ounces of paper gold, right? And like, what's to stop Bitcoin from being the same way with like these ETFs, bro?
That you can move it quickly, which means that and it cheaply. And so, if there's a debt between two banks over Bitcoin, that there's no excuse to not settle that. The reason that the brokerage house,
but they're not settled. The ETFs are not settled in Bitcoin. That's the whole loophole.
Hold on,
they're settled in cash, bro.
Yeah. But okay, so
that's why they did that. Was because that which you're saying that would be the safeguard could never happen because now they get.
No, but like cash. What I'm saying is you don't understand the history of gold banking.
No, I do, and I understand the reason the gold standard failed was because they were able to make paper gold that. Basically was interchangeable. No, because it was interchangeable with physical gold and it allowed them to circumvent the stock to flow ratio, the physical limit, because they were allowed to issue unchecked credit.
Why were they allowed to do that?
Because they were allowed to issue paper gold.
Because the cost of transporting gold to settle
no. That is the banker talking point. That's not the truth.
This is
the
a
truth.
Fact.
No,
this is like you gotta have a ship
You're erroneous.
To move. You know how much it costs to reclaim the gold from New York to France?
You are totally wrong. This is
billions of dollars.
That's what they tell you, bro.
Armada.
That's what they tell you. But the real reason was because it allowed them to circumvent the limit, the physical limit of actual gold. Like you want to be on a gold standard, right? If you're allowed to issue unchecked credit with paper gold that interchanges in trade exactly for 1 gold physical ounce, 1 paper Bitcoin, 1 physical Bitcoin on hardware. Well, if those two things can mix in trade and then you can issue credit against the paper Bitcoin unchecked, no limit, you supersede the 21 million limit, you supersede the limit of the gold, you supersede the gold standard.
Bitcoin, you're going to get liquidated.
No, you're not, because you can settle it in cash and you could just print more cash.
If people are,
it's not settled in Bitcoin, bro. It's settled in paper Bitcoin. Like, what aren't you saying
about,
here?
Like people trading Bitcoin futures, like they let them go trade Bitcoin futures. That's fine. Like
no, what I'm saying, I'm not saying like gambling is wrong. Like I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they can supersede the 21 million level with these ETFs by printing paper Bitcoin because they settle in cash, and it doesn't matter how much actual Bitcoin there is because they can print as many paper Bitcoin as they want and then just print the cash to settle it. That's what it is. That's how the gold standard was defeated.
No. Okay, so
yes,
I think you're very confused about this. So
No,
you're
I'm
selling
not.
paper. You're selling paper Bitcoin. The price of paper Bitcoin on that brokerage will trade at a deficit to the spot market.
No,
which is
no, it
24/7
won't, because it's
spot
settled
market.
in dollars. So it'll always track the price. I will have one physical Bitcoin to buy a house from me, right? Or my friend Eduardo will have one paper Bitcoin to buy a house from you from an ETF, and you will accept it the same way because it's the same price. And you'll probably accept the paper Bitcoin because it's easier. You don't have to worry about the custody and shit.
No, you start doing a speculative attack. And these people are like, they're doing fractional.
It's already happening.
Contracts.
That's what the ETFs are.
I don't think that's how it works, man.
No, it is how it works, because they can issue unchecked credit that settles in cash, which they can also print. So they can just create paper Bitcoin and then settle it in cash that they print out of nothing.
This is like
that's
GME.
How the gold standard died.
No, this is
like
the GME
gold
thing.
Standard died.
No, this is like the GME thing. The GME with GameStop, there was a speculative run that liquidated a hedge fund and almost took down a brokerage house. That's exactly the same thing that's going to happen to any ETF that starts playing dirty and starts doing
the thing is, like, all the GameStop people still own their stock. They've been physically taking it out of the brokerages and owning it under their own names, right? Mm-hmm. And since then, they've been manipulating the price of GameStop, because that should have already happened. Like, Wall Street should have gone broke off shorting GameStop on a naked short where these people have the stocks. The only company, like this guy, Ian Carroll on Twitter, look him up. Like, he's got long hair and he talks about conspiracy shit all the time, but like, he talks about that GameStop shit because he was like intimately a part of it. And basically, the situation is these hedge funds are still underwater. They've just been manipulating the price and like printing them and limited money to cover their positions because they cannot reclaim these stocks that people have in their personal possession. They're just manipulating the market with paper GameStop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're over leveraged.
And they're going to do it with gold. They're going to do it with Bitcoin. They're going to do it with anything that's a
player will be able to launch a speculative attack on them. And speculative attacks are
you can't though, because it's in paper. The market can stay irrational as long as they can print money.
That you could. No, that was like, I think GameStop.
No, they're literally printing GameStop stocks right now. They changed the rules and shit. Like, go look at Ian Carroll's fucking expose on this shit. Like, I don't know the details because I wasn't a GameStop person. Like, I've been into Bitcoin and shit, right? Like Bitcoin and crypto. So like, I'm not a stock guy, but like, what I'm saying is he has some compelling ass videos about it.
I know that
where he explains the situation and what's actually happening, and they're basically just manipulating the market through paper, and they're doing it with Bitcoin, they're doing it with gold, they're doing it with every market. The huge thing about the ETFs, do you remember about the ETF approval before it happened? Do you remember how they wanted to settle it in Bitcoin, and that was a huge point of contention, and then the only way it got approved was so that they could settle it in cash, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? They can print the cash, bro. They can't print the Bitcoin. That's the whole point. Like, that's what they did. That was the fraud. That's the whole scam of the ETF.
I don't understand the attack. So you're saying that they're going to... Okay, so let's just walk through this really slowly. So you're a boomer. You go to your brokerage house. You say, hey, I want this Bitcoin ETF thing. And then they print the equivalent, and then they put it in your balance.
They give you a little certificate
or whatever, and then on their side of the balance sheet, hold on. And then on their side of the balance sheet, then they have a debt. They owe this guy one Bitcoin, $70,000 worth of Bitcoin. But it's denominated in Bitcoin, so if the price goes up and down, their debt to this guy goes up and down. Now, they have a local balance sheet, right? Like the person, the ETF issuer has a balance sheet, which is like their liabilities and their assets. And they're what? Collateralizing it with something else? I mean, they're not buying the Bitcoin.
I mean, I'm not a financial advisor or like somebody that even knows about that shit. What I'm saying is they right now can, like, okay, say BlackRock like buys like, you know, like 10,000 Bitcoin, for example, right? Okay. Like, so I don't know the actual numbers. I'm just giving you like a hypothetical. Mm-hmm. They buy the Bitcoin. They have the Bitcoin in their fund. For every boomer that comes to buy a Bitcoin investment, they could sell them one paper Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter how fucking much Bitcoin they have in there, right? Mm-hmm. Because they can settle that shit in cash. And the cash comes out of thin air. They're cantillionaires. They've got relationships. Like, they're going to get that cantillionaire cash. Like, They like it doesn't matter like what the dollar does, what Bitcoin does.
So
they
BlackRock
can just
has, like, let's say 1,000 Bitcoin.
they could sell 60 million paper Bitcoins and settle it all in cash.
Hold on. Okay. I don't understand this settle it in cash thing. So you're BlackRock. You buy 100,000 Bitcoin. You have that in your asset balance sheet. And then you have,
when I sell my,
Bitcoin.
like, say I have one Bitcoin in BlackRock ETF. When I sell that shit, they're not selling a Bitcoin, bro. They are just paying me some cash.
Okay,
There's no Bitcoin that moves.
Where is BlackRock getting the cash to pay you? They're just printing it.
From their cantillionaire, like, who cares? It's
they
money.
Call up the Fed and they're like, "Hey, Fed, settle."
I mean, like, I'm sure it's not like that, but I mean, like, you know what it means? Like, they don't care. Like, they have the Bitcoin. Like, they don't give a fuck what the dollar price is. Dollars are going to shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they defeated the gold standard. They did the same thing. A paper Bitcoin trades, and it's the exact same thing as a physical Bitcoin, which obviously has exponential more value.
It's not the same thing, and
it's the same as a paper gold.
If BlackRock started
trading against a physical ounce of gold,
BlackRock started selling paper Bitcoin that they don't have collateralized by Bitcoin at like any level that is relevant, whistleblowers would come out, speculative tasks would begin. The price of the IBIT, of the BlackRock ETF, will start to trade at a discount or at a premium, probably at a premium to others, maybe in order to bring in demand and like fill the bags of the Bitcoin, or at a discount depending on how the situation plays out. We've seen this in exchanges for
because their liabilities.
Whenever an exchange,
we owe like 10,000 Bitcoins. This is a liability. This goes on our asset sheet.
Whenever a shitcoin exchange starts playing dirty and starts scamming people, their shit starts trading out of whack with the market. People realize there's something off, and then a bank run.
This isn't a shitcoin exchange though. This is BlackRock. Or
you can still do a bank run on BlackRock. You can do a
what I'm saying is like these are the companies that run the global economy.
They're human beings. They're not gods.
No, but they have ownership stakes in all the businesses everywhere that run the world. So like basically they just say it's like with the mining shit right now, like with Wall Street.
And they have 100,000 Bitcoin, and you think they're going to try to destroy
like with the mining. Now that there's fucking Marathon making their gay little fucking M blocks and shit. Like Marathon is never like the halving is going to happen, and Marathon's never going to hurt for money because their investors will just give them Wall Street money.
So you think BlackRock is going to try to destroy the price of Bitcoin despite the fact they own 100,000 of them?
Yes, I totally do.
You think they're going to like seppuku like?
Yes, because they did it with gold. Not BlackRock, but I mean, like gold. The same shit happened to gold because gold was making
$2,100. I mean, it's not that bad. It
sucks. No, but what I'm saying is like gold should be at like $10,000 right now. Like
according to you, but it's shiny
I mean,
rock
according to me, no. I mean, you can't say that those 293 fucking paper ounces of gold that exist for every physical ounce don't negatively impact the price. Like it allows an avenue for manipulation, and they're going to do the same thing with Bitcoin. And that's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying is they can't do the same thing with Bitcoin because of the
wait till there's 300 fucking Bitcoin per fucking actual Bitcoin.
I'm saying you can do it with gold because it's very difficult to take control of gold. Very expensive to take control of gold. Bitcoin is a lot easier to take control of, right?
Wait, so you're the one talking about ways to share UTXOs and people being priced out when spending their small UTXO. So what do you mean it's very difficult to take control of gold but not Bitcoin? Like, where do you think this is going? If Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, how much do you think it costs to move a UTXO, bro? Well, it's the same scenario.
It depends. No.
It's the same scenario.
No, it's not the same scenario. It's not even close to the same scenario. If you have $1 billion in gold and $1 billion in Bitcoin, it might cost you $100 flat fee to move the Bitcoin in 5 years. It's going to still cost you $50,000 to move the gold.
I don't know. Maybe it'll cost you $50,000 to move the Bitcoin.
That's not going to happen at $1 million. That might happen like at 10 million or something like that.
I mean, why do you think that though? I mean, if we have $50 transaction fees, like in times of congestion right now, with barely anybody using the network, Like, why
That
would
happened
you think?
for a moment when people were putting JPEGs on the blockchain, which is
No,
one
I
of the
know,
reasons
but I
we're
mean,
not
do you
gonna
think that
increase the block
JPEGs
size,
are
by
going
the
to
way.
stop? There's conferences about ordinals.
Yeah, that's why
and
we're not
stamps
going to
and
increase the
this-
block size, by the way. We can't increase the block size because it's an attack vector where people
No, it's
just
not.
fill the blockchain with garbage. It's clearly an
Or
attack
maybe the scaling path was erroneous, like to begin with.
No,
The fact
if
that you
if
need scripts to
Monero
scale
censored people
and
from putting
signature
shit on their
aggregation and
block
like the
size.
whole scaling path that they have mapped out. Like,
Monero
the fact that it has
Monero changed the arbitrary data path in order to censor JPEGs because they recognize it
because
as an
we
attack.
are unstoppable peer-to-peer digital cash, not your fucking JPEG platform.
Seems like they censored the
Bitcoin
JPEG.
is now JPEG platform.
Seems like Monero is censoring JPEGs to me.
Yeah, I'm with that. Like, I'm 100. The whole community's with it.
Doesn't sound very censorship resistant, bro.
It is though, because like, what's the dark web using?
I'm just kidding. So okay, you can't argue that it's not the same thing, bro. You can move $10 billion worth of value in Bitcoin for a flat fee. You can't do that with gold. The fee is proportional because of the security risk involved, right? Like, there's probably a point where you just.
I mean, if blocks never get bigger, then fees are going to increase, bro. Like,
no, the fees will just.
It might be 50,000 to move 1 million sats, and
well, people are intelligent.
Like,
right?
what I'm saying is, like, I have a 1 million sat UTXO, and I want to move that shit in like 2052 or some shit. That might actually cost 50. It might be the same as sending a freighter full of fucking gold across the ocean with a Navy fucking escort. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
bro, you're arguing that it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same cost to send.
I'm saying the art of without increasing the blocks like Satoshi intended.
By email, right?
Without increasing the blocks like Satoshi intended.
It's going to be the same. No, I don't even care. Like, you can increase the blocks all you want or not. It's never going to be cheaper to send something.
Do you disagree that Satoshi intended for demand and block size to increase in a similar fashion? Like, with more demand, the block size should increase. Do you disagree with that? That Satoshi intended that?
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he intended it. I think.
I mean, there's Bitcoin
there's a lot of
talk posts where he says how to do it, and this is what we should do.
Yeah, but he got a bunch of shit wrong. He didn't see mining pools coming. He did, maybe he saw ASICs. There's a bunch of stuff that he got wrong. He got a bunch of. He was brilliant, but he wasn't God. He didn't get everything right.
But no. But I mean,
so
if he had a plan for scaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, Bitcoiners have just disregarded his plan for scaling, and now Bitcoin is fucking unusable for peer-to-peer cash because the fees and shit.
It's not unusable. Like, it still fucking works, bro.
No, it really doesn't though, bro. Like, when you have motherfucking people in Colombia that have been dollar cost averaging like $20 a week or some shit, and now they can't move their UTXOs, that doesn't work for people.
They can pay $2 right now to settle. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to get a low fee environment to. Like, sorry that you got sold that advice and you DCA'd on chain for too long and you clearly didn't understand the technology enough. Sorry, right? It's not my fault. You should have used Lightning. You should have, I don't know, done some.
They should have used the custodial alternative.
You can use non-custodial. You've had Phoenix for like 3 years. Just use fucking Phoenix.
I don't know. Why should they have to pay fees to like some server in France?
Because nothing's free, bro. Nothing's free. Sovereignty is not free.
No, but why should you have to pay to use Bitcoin, like, other than the mining? Like, the fact that you think it's okay and it's an acceptable trade-off to go to some layer 2 where you have to pay some middleman is, like, to me, emblematic of a huge failure.
Phoenix is not a middleman. It's non-custodial.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
no,
it is.
Non-custodial. You don't
They're giving you Lightning liquidity services, and you are paying them a fee on.
They're on your private keys. They're on your private keys. You don't.
No, I know it's on your private keys, but to use their infrastructure, you have to pay for that privilege.
Yeah, you have
to
pay
is what I'm talking about.
Use your money.
That is a middleman. No, but that's a middleman. Like, why can't I just?
So miners are middlemen.
No, miners are not middlemen.
Well, then, so what's the problem?
Miners are first-class citizens of the network. Like,
what's wrong with middlemen? Why are you a communist? Like, division of labor?
Yeah, I am. I'm a fucking communist, I guess. Yeah, you know why? Because, like, the whole fucking point, like, you can see it in the Bitcoin white paper, is no middleman. Like, that was the point of Bitcoin. So if we have to pay a middleman, then I would say Bitcoin has failed.
So
if there's no other way to
don't
use it
think-
without
I don't
middlemen
actually
effectively and
I don't see
economically,
how
then it's a
to
failure.
me a middleman is taking custody and is taking and can
No, it's
veto
a
your
rent
payments.
seeker. It's a rent seeking vampire that puts themselves in between you and your
But they're
transaction
not
and
rent
takes a
seeking
fee.
and they're not a vampire. They're providing
They
a
are.
service. It's a trade. It's a trade.
No, they
they're
are rent
clearly solving
seekers
the problem
because
of
their
having
whole
to
business
personalize
model is rent seeking. Like, why
them.
should I need?
Listen,
Why
I'm
is Bitcoin
happy
being
to pay them.
artificially
I'm happy
stunted
to
so
pay
I
them,
have
so I
to
don't have
pay
to manage
these
a
fucking
fucking
people to
lightning
use their layer 2?
What?
Why has Bitcoin been developmentally stunted so I have to pay these fucking people
because
to
we
use
wanna
their
be
layer
able to
2?
verify the block size.
No, but
run
why
this
do
shit
I have to
on
pay these
hardware.
people to use their layer 2? Why can't I just transact on chain when
I mean,
technology
you can,
exists?
but okay.
No,
You can't
technology exists. Like, bro, like that's what you have to understand about this flooding attack on Monero is like that there has been a huge flooding attack and it has not made fees increase. Like, why hasn't that scaling
How big?
technology
How-
been
how
adapted
big
to
is it?
Bitcoin? Why has privacy
How much
technology
data
not
has
been
gone through
adapted?
it?
Well, for the first time, I will tell you this because I don't have like the stats
You
here
don't
in
have
front
the
of me,
data.
but there's threads on Twitter. You can look them up. The thing is, for the first time, the scaling dynamic block size was put into effect. The blocks exceeded 300 kilobytes and went to like 400 kilobytes or something for a while. Like the normal transactions were like 70, 80,000 a day, and it went up to like 150,000 like for like a month
So
straight.
the Monero blocks are smaller than Bitcoin blocks?
I think so, yeah. Because there's less
Well,
there's
come
less
back to
time.
me when the blocks are fucking 20 megabytes. Then
No, but there's
literally
there's
the
less
test
time.
is like not even relevant.
It might be
Like,
300 megabytes.
if your
I
blocks
might
are
be
like
wrong on the
smaller
fucking
than
date.
mine, like
What I'm
fuck
saying
off,
is,
right? You can't make a big block argument.
no,
if your
but
blocks
there's
are 300
more of
smaller
them.
than-
There's more.
Okay, so
Monero
so,
blocks are every 2 minutes, not every 10 minutes. So it's whatever. Like it's a trade off.
so you
But what
have,
I'm saying
you have
is,
5
like,
times the block space.
what I'm saying is,
because of the
Bitcoin
cost.
Cash and Monero both have dynamic block sizes, right? So when these flooding attacks came in, like there's an algorithm in both chains where the blocks increase as necessary to accommodate the higher transaction rates, and the fees algorithmically go down to compensate for more transactions in the block to make it affordable still. Like, why doesn't Bitcoin have some shit like that?
Is it working? I mean,
yeah, these flooding attacks have proved that it works, and it's pretty fucking cool, actually. But like, yeah, it's working right now, and like, this is some shit that could.
Let's talk about Bitcoin Core a little bit, because I think the thing that I find annoying about this conversation is that you've already dismissed Bitcoin as a failed project.
Yes,
So
100%.
So I'm not really. So I don't really get any.
I mean,
benefit out of
I
having
still
this
hold
conversation
Bitcoin
because
or
we already
whatever,
dismissed
right? But like,
Okay.
I don't believe in Bitcoin. Like, I'm like Roger.
Okay.
Like, I don't believe in Bitcoin as a tool for freedom anymore.
But
Like,
then but you still hold it. So why are you holding it?
I mean, just because fucking fiat Ponzi, but like,
Because it's a good store of value, right? Still,
no, it's not. I wouldn't even say it's a good store of value because it's not. Like,
you
because
know that if you wanted to sell that Bitcoin anonymously, you could.
no. But listen, this is where I'm coming with. Like, I lived on Bitcoin with no bank account, like nothing, only Bitcoin for like 7 years, right? And the volatility makes me believe it's not a good store of value, because when your fucking rent is due and Bitcoin crashes 30% because fucking CoinMarketCap puts out some bullshit fucking article about, or Cointelegraph, or you know what I mean? Like, that's not a good store of value. Like, in the long term, yes, but like using it as an actual money, like your day-to-day money to live, no, it's fucking horrible, bro.
No, that's fine. So use Monero as your day-to-day money, but Monero is not gonna beat inflation.
Why do you say that though?
Well, has it?
Yeah, I mean, it's less scarce than gold.
It's still the same.
It's
price
less
as it
scarce
was
than
5
gold,
years ago.
and it's currently less
It's
scarce
cheaper
than
than it
Bitcoin.
was 5 years ago. So it definitely is not beating inflation.
It's not cheaper than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, bro. It's like $100. How much is Monero right now?
I mean, the all-time high is like $500. Right now, it's like
but like
140
right
or
now, it's
something.
like $100, right?
No, it's like 140 right now. But what I'm saying
it's
is
the
like,
same price. It's the same price as when I bought it the first time. Like,
that's what a
fucking
store of
6
value
years
would be like in the.
That's
the
not a
sense of
store of
gold,
value
right?
because that's against depreciated.
No,
dollar,
it's
right?
not an
The
investment.
dollar has lost like 40% of value.
It's not
since
an
that day.
investment though. It's a medium of exchange.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It is a
So
store
use
of
it as a
value
medium of
because
exchange.
if I would have bought
Okay, but
Monero in
money is more than that,
17 at
right?
$100,
Money
it'd
is
be
more
worth
than
a little
medium of
bit more.
exchange. You know what's medium of exchange? The peso. That's a medium of exchange.
No,
It's
you're
shit money.
wrong. Go look at what Mises says about the function of money. Like money is only a medium of exchange. Every other fucking quality that comes from money comes from the fact that it's
Wow, I really disagree with
utility.
Mises on that then. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Total value,
no.
unit of account, medium of exchange. Those are the
No,
three big
medium of
qualities.
exchange, and then the other qualities come from its utility as being a medium of exchange that's valued.
Well,
That's what Mises says.
the medium of exchange aspect of it is, I mean, I use Lightning for medium of exchange all the
No,
fucking
here,
time.
I'm gonna look
I
you up
use
the
it like
quote. I'm gonna
multiple times a
read
almost
you
for
the
free.
quote.
But I use the unit of account at the dollar, and I use Bitcoin as a store of value. So it works great for me. Like I have no problem.
No, and I'm not saying
$10 to open
yeah.
a channel in Phoenix and have no custodial Lightning for like near free transactions. So I don't know what you people are fucking complaining about so much. It's just like I get it. I would love to have more privacy on Bitcoin, but you come here like
you need more
like,
privacy. It's not, bro. Like you're paying taxes. Like Bitcoin was designed so you wouldn't pay taxes. Like
where did Satoshi ever say you shouldn't pay taxes?
I mean, that's
I'm not saying you should, but like, where did Satoshi say that? I mean, that's you putting your shit on Bitcoin, bro.
No, it's like, not me putting my shit on Bitcoin. It's like the whole point of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin was designed so that you didn't need data in order to secure a transaction. That's like 5 steps away from like never paying taxes to any government. Yeah, and like again, like I'm not like a pro government, you know, but like I'm just saying.
No, I know you're not. I'm not saying you are, but what I'm saying is like when you have Bitcoiners, right, that are okay with Bitcoin like losing its fucking place of top ranking in the black markets, then it's no longer like a freedom money. It's no longer censorship resistant money.
Right.
When you have Bitcoiners making Reddit threads, making fucking Twitter threads about how the best they can comply with paying their capital gains taxes, then it's a failed project, bro. Like,
that's cringe. No, I don't think it's a failed project. I will continue to push it.
When all the fucking ways to use Bitcoin efficiently are layer 2 custody fucking solutions,
Dude,
KYC.
Finney, you're totally misunderstanding Hal Finney on the banking thing. He basically said that self-custody was not going to scale. It's very clear.
No, I understand that, but there could still be self-custodial, censorship-resistant, private, digital,
if 8 billion people
cash.
were using Monero would fucking collapse. Monero can't handle it.
I understand that, bro, but like you have to understand the crypto fucking ecosystem right now is 2.4 million coins. Right? We are not scaling in the hyper Bitcoinization that you fucking profess. Like we are scaling in a multi-chain reality where these coins are passing through different chains and shit. And that's like the whole thing. Like the fact that like Bitcoin Cash is shunned by Bitcoiners when it is a legitimate Genesis block lineage fork that is sharing the same legacy as Bitcoin as an open source project. Like, bro, Linux, there's like 2,000 forks of every fucking Linux distro. There's 2,000 forks of every Linux application. Like open source means open source. It doesn't mean some fucking cabal of like paid off fucking early adopters get to dictate what the fucking thing is, bro.
Listen, let's talk about something more interesting around this line of conversation, which is there's like a brewing discontent with Bitcoin Core, right? Within Bitcoiners. Yes, there's a bunch of normie fucking square Bitcoiners that are like, you know, ETF boomers and
Sailor.
Like bootlickers. There's a bunch of like bootlickers. I think Sailor's the shit. But like there's a bunch of bootlickers.
Sailor is the world's biggest cringe, but all right.
I'm a big fan of Sailor. I think Sailor is really sharp. And he's right about a bunch of shit. But I agree that there's a bunch of Bitcoiners that are just like square normies at this point. So Sailor, so there's a bunch of square boomer fucking, you know, suited Bitcoiners that are like, you know, they're happy to lick the boot and
the worst motherfucker
That's fine.
is Fred.
Welcome. First of all, welcome to scaling. That's what's gonna happen. At some point, there's gonna be a bunch of juppies using Monero and thinking they're fucking the shit. Like they're super cool. Like that. If you ever scale,
that's why we need multi-chain. That's why I'm not a maximalist on it anymore.
You're gonna get that anyway, right? Second of all, there's a bunch of cypherpunk Bitcoiners that are like in there poking holes, right? Because there's obviously problems, right? Like we definitely need, like we probably should have covenants, right? Maybe Opcat should be in there. We would love to have more privacy, right? So there is like a growing discontent within the Bitcoin community about the development process in Bitcoin. There's a problem, and the problem is not necessarily anybody's fault, right? So like during the Bitcoin war, the Bcash war, the miners thought that they were hot shit, and they try to push their weight to increase the block size and change the development source, like change the development governance in a sense, right? So like move Bitcoin to a different repository, move GitHub to a different set of maintainers. Maintainers are the developers that approve changes to Bitcoin, right? So like the New York Agreement was that, and Bcash was that. It was a replacement of the development of the core developers, essentially, right? And the miners thought they could push their weight. The Bitcoin core developers held ground, and then the community issued this soft fork bluff, and it worked, and like whatever, right? Bitcoin Core maintained the brand, right? Here's the issue: because of the way that the soft forks of that soft fork and other soft forks and the politicization of consensus upgrades, Bitcoin Core developers today are completely chicken shit. Like half of them got sued out of being core developers by Craig Wright. Okay. Craig Wright literally sued core developers out of being core developers, right? And the ones that are still there, they're not getting their head in on anything that's consensus, because every time they stick their head out into a consensus change, the Bitcoin community mobs them, and then they're probably getting astroturfed from like the CIA. Who knows what the fuck's going on, right? So Bitcoin core developers are very shy about consensus changes, right? So the only path to change Bitcoin today is like community-led, like pleb-led soft fork upgrades that are supported by miners and that get like passive core developer consensus. But we're past the point where any core developer will actually like lead the charge into a consensus change. That seems very unlikely. All the OGs they're just not involved. Adam Back is not going to opine on it. Peter Willey's not going to opine on it. Greg Maxwell are not going to. None of these guys are going to get in because the lawsuits, right? The Craig Wright lawsuits actually had a big impact. And so the reality is we have a governance dilemma, which is good, because if it was easy to change Bitcoin, it would definitely be broken. But
see, I disagree with that fundamentally.
You disagree fundamentally that if there's like a road to the crown to change Bitcoin, that there wouldn't be an army of CIA
I feel like that is a bunch of
it.
bullshit that was started by CIA agents to just make a quagmire to not improve Bitcoin and to leave it in arrested development where I see it right now. Like, I believe that Ethereum and Monero and other crypto projects that do regular hard forks have demonstrated that that's a fallacy and that it's not logical to pursue that course of action. And I believe that's just some bullshit propaganda they use to make the Bitcoin community accept the fact that Bitcoin's been handicapped and hobbled.
Listen, I think I would like some changes inside of Bitcoin. I think everybody would. I think there's conversations about what and how. And I kind of like that there's a new guard coming in, that the old guard is getting kind of like, pushed around a little bit. I think that the hard laser eye guys that think that they're going to fix the filters, I low-key retarded. Like, I think they're...
Yeah, no, I think they're 100% retarded. Yeah.
Right? Like, they're completely, just go get some,
To fix the filters, you need to do what Monero did, which is create, a consensus around making that shit not possible or making it too expensive to do in real life. And that's what, because of this consensus parallelization that you're talking about.
Discount and,
Yeah. I mean, because of the consensus parallelization, the fact that it's so hard to get consensus about anything in Bitcoin, to me, that I feel like that was one of the most intelligent attack vectors, the powers that be used to destabilize.
But Bitcoin, you don't see the argument for it. You don't see the argument for lucification.
No,
right?
I used to, bro. I used to. I bought that shit hook, line, and sinker in 2014, right?
Okay, but the TCP/IP layer
now.
Right? Nobody's arguing about changing it, despite the fact that they're wrong.
I have seen other blockchains successfully do regular hard forks and improve the protocol. Yeah, but bro, like think about it in the terms of software. Like what software never has updates? What software never improves? What software never takes advantage of new technology?
Bitcoin does improve. It's just like we're talking about consensus changes, right?
It doesn't though, because like the consensus changes they do like add complexity and don't add value. You know what I mean? Like you're chasing your tail.
Segwit and Taproot didn't add value. They clearly did.
I don't think it does, because I don't see any market demand for Taproot at all. What's a Taproot feature that I've ever used? Like that's never happened. I've been a Bitcoin since 2014. Huh?
The JPEGs people are loving
it. I know they love it, but was that like come on? Was that the intended use? Was that what Taproot was ushered in?
There's a bunch of Taproot stuff being used in Lightning.
What's perceived by the same people that ushered Taproot in as an attack on Bitcoin, right? Like they see JPEGs as an attack on Bitcoin. So like, okay, bro, like you put this fucking new thing in that's so great. Where's the fucking real use case? You're bitching about people making ordinals.
Lightning uses a bunch of Taproot stuff, no?
What? What does Lightning? Lightning existed way before Taproot.
No. Like a bunch of the advanced cryptography in Taproot, as far as I understand, is used inside of Lightning to like manage keys and like code, sign this, sign that.
I mean, it could be, yeah. I guess. I mean,
sure that's the
fact,
case,
but what I'm saying is like, where's the fucking, aggregated signatures like to make coin joins cheaper? Where's that at?
That's a great question.
Like for real, like. That's what Taproot was beneficial for, right? Like, where's that at? Like, what? Yeah. I thought coin joins were going to be cheaper than a normal transaction. Why we still got high fees when that's the case? Like, why aren't there like, 2,000 signature fucking coin joins like happening right now that make?
Well, there was a record coin join recently.
A transaction super cheap, like.
No, Wasabi made a record coin join recently, but I don't know.
Yeah, but Wasabi works with Chainalysis.
Okay, this is the most retarded argument in history. Like I just interviewed.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's insanely retarded. Like
no, it's not. Paying money to your enemy is not a retarded argument. Like you're paying money to your enemy. If you claim to represent Bitcoin privacy and you're, I give a fuck. I give a fuck.
No, there's a gun to their head. They're being shaken
down.
No,
there's not. They bent the knee.
Dude, the Tornado Cash guy is rotting in prison right now. You saying there's not a gun?
Well, the samurai guys aren't, and they didn't bend the knee.
They're probably feds. Sorry to break it.
I mean, could be. I'm not going to deny that. Okay. I mean, it could be.
So,
but what I'm saying is, look,
just to address the Wasabi wallet thing, the stuff that's run through. So Wasabi wallet, when you're submitting to do a coin join, you're giving them your UTXOs, right, or like more or less, and then those UTXOs are already public on the Bitcoin blockchain. If those UTXOs have already been blacklisted by a government that works with Chainalysis, right? Like the CIA already put you on the blacklist, right? That UTXO, there's nothing that they can do. Like they can coin join that, but now they're taking that burden, right? So all they're saying is, if you're already been busted, we're not going to wash your coins, right? Now, if you're not on the blacklist and you put your UTXO and Chainalysis says there's no claims against this, then you can go through the coin join, and the coin join works as well as anything else, any other coin join in the market, pretty much.
But not really, because they have like address reuse, which is a fundamental flaw.
That they fixed that shit way back. Like that was a bug.
No, they didn't. People go to jail from using Wasabi. Nobody's ever gone to jail from using Samurai, bro.
Somebody just went to jail for using Samurai like 3 months ago. I mean, this was on Twitter.
No.
I don't know about the address reuse. I'm pretty sure they patched that, but I would have to Google.
I'm pretty sure they didn't. And then, like, the thing with the Samurai person that went to jail, I really don't think it's how it was reported. Like, from what I understand.
Well, I mean, I don't know about the report.
I read it at the time, and like I'm fuzzy on the details right now, but like from what I understand, it's not as it was reported. It's like with the. Do you remember, like in Norway, there was some hacker that got caught, and they said they demixed Monero to get him? That's not really what happened. Like he uploaded his home folder from his computer to the dark web with the stolen info, and they like had all his personal information like from his home folder.
Yeah.
But then they tried to propagandize it and say that it was Monero. From what I understand, the Samurai situation.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the same. Like I don't know the details of any of these cases. So yeah, I can't comment on their validity or lack thereof either. I think all I know is I heard that, right? So where there's smoke, maybe there's fire, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do
But
we know
like
that how do we know that the feds aren't flooding good privacy solutions with stuff like this, right?
I mean, it could be, but and most probably it is. But what I'm saying is like, you don't have to pay chain analysis to monitor your transactions. Like they could have.
I mean, you kind of do, right?
No, you don't, because like,
Listen,
do you remember Lava
I
Mail?
think it's a very reasonable,
Do you
sort of
remember Lava
pragmatic
Mail?
decision they've made. I don't think it impacts the privacy of their users in any way. I
Do you
think that's very
remember
obvious
Lava
if you
Mail?
think about it for 5 minutes. And I think this is bullshit fun. Like,
No, I don't. And
welcome
I
to
think
the reality. There's a coordinator. They're at
that's
risk of
called
getting
bending the
kidnapped
knee,
by
in
the
my
feds,
opinion.
right? Like,
That's called bending the knee, in my opinion. There was a company called Lava Mail that wanted. They had like a Tutanota or like a Proton Mail kind of encrypted email, and they were pressured. I forget where they were based, but they were pressured by like the government where they were based to break the encryption of their users. And the dude closed the fucking business down because he had principles and he had integrity.
Yeah, but because he had the data, though, right? He had data.
No, but he closed the fucking business rather than comply because he had integrity. He didn't want to betray his users like that. And for Wasabi,
not betraying users,
if they were that threatened, that their only option was to hire chain analysts,
like super idealistic position that's complete bullshit.
Where we're at.
Like,
Juan.
Are we separating money from
state?
The cops to not fuck you.
Are we separating money from state, or are we bending the knee and paying taxes? Like, which is it?
I mean, I'm not here to fight the government. Like, if I have to pay taxes, I'll pay taxes. I think it's stupid to try to think you can win a war against the government like that.
I don't, because I think that's what this technology was like to begin with, and the fact that it hasn't lived up to that, and it's been crippled by people that share that point of view is very, very sad to me. Like,
I think it's much bigger than that. I think cryptography and cypherpunk and anarchy is a lot bigger than just not paying taxes. I think it's giving people end-to-end encryption, giving people sovereign technologies, privacy, maximizing
giving them
their freedom by minimizing the
allowing
cost
them
of freedom,
to avoid being
maximizing
exploited,
their power by minimizing the cost,
allowing them to be told what they can and can't use their own money.
But like, if you narrow it down to like not paying taxes, you've completely lost it. In fact,
and I'm not saying that's the only case. What I'm saying is using
contribute to local infrastructure and grow out local infrastructure.
Continuing to operate a business that's claiming to give Bitcoiners privacy and then hiring a Bitcoin surveillance firm is a fundamental lack of integrity that I don't think is forgivable. That's why I'm against Wasabi. Totally like, I've honestly, I've interviewed Nopara. Like, I interviewed Nothing Much and Nopara. Like, they both were super cool. Like, I looked up the Wasabi wallet. I wrote articles about how to use Wasabi wallet, like back in the day, right? But once this new information came to light, I had to change my opinion. And I am an idealist, and I think we are here for a financial revolution. And if you're not committed to the financial revolution, then I feel like it's not going to succeed.
I've seen people. I'm allergic to idealism. I've seen people die because of idealism. Go watch my HBO.
You have to be that committed,
you know what I mean?
To change the world, bro.
Go watch.
You have to be willing to die.
Like, no, but they didn't die out of commitment. They died out of like retardedness, right? If I had seen,
I'll watch your documentary. I haven't watched it yet. I'll go pirate it from the pirate.
Yeah, go pirate it. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll pirate it. But
I think the vision of cypherpunk to me is like, give people encryption, give people cryptographic tools at every level of the stack, and like minimize costs, maximize freedom, and then you also have to maximize wisdom. People need to like.
But why not take full advantage of encryption and make people completely unassailable by?
I think that's wishful thinking. You just, all the government has to do is like slap you down, and everybody that knows is going to be like, oh, maybe it's not.
No, it's not wishful thinking, because like, I mean, even
it totally is. I mean, it's like,
what the fuck was his name? The economist that said you had to like make a sneaky way to like route around the government control. Like, that's what crypto's supposed to be. Yeah, Milton Friedman.
It works. But like, the idea that, okay, listen, I think people should fight.
So why should Bitcoin not be the most unstoppable, untraceable ghost money that exists? Like, why isn't it? Like, that's the question I have to ask you. That's where I feel like it's.
Are you willing to you're definitely willing to sacrifice the hard supply cap for that, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm a fan of Monero with the tail emission because I feel like the security budget issue is not sustainable in Bitcoin, especially if you believe that ordinals, which are the only thing that are making it sustainable, especially in HODL culture where nobody spends Bitcoin, right? Like if ordinals are going to be priced out because they're so stupid and there's just such a shitty idea, like then there is no security budget for Bitcoin. So what happens after the mining reward stops? Like,
well, the good news, if there's no security budget for Bitcoin, then cheaps will be free and free will be cheap. So you won't be complaining about lighting and expensive fees. And CoinJoin will be cheaper, so that's good. You know.
Well, I mean, CoinJoin should be cheaper with Taproot, right? Like, why?
Yeah, we definitely should get that. There's a bunch of stuff that I think we need to change in Bitcoin. It's about fucking time. So we should definitely.
I mean, like I'm not like, you know, I think Bitcoin's failed in its current state. And like, I kind of feel like Bitcoin Cash has probably lived up to what Bitcoin should have been, like a lot more than Bitcoin has. But because of the block wars,
I'm not interested in losing money for ideological reasons.
No, but I mean, because
you know
of the block war and then
have fun losing all your money. You know what I mean? I've seen people. I saw like one of my best friends fucking took the Bitcoin Cash side of the fork, lost most of his money, and then lost his mind, and then died of cirrhosis. You know, like this shit is real, bro. This shit is real. Okay, left a family, 3 kids and a wife, right? So I mean, we're not fucking around. Like you're gonna sacrifice your wealth and your family for ideological reasons.
I mean, yeah, kind of like I don't want to like. If Bitcoin is like a fucking KYC thing that goes to $1 million and it's like completely controlled and like just some bullshit.
I'll tell you what, if self-custody gets
I don't give a fuck about $1 million Ponzi dollars.
We can't like if KYC if self-custody Bitcoin gets completely priced out and then Lightning gets completely KYC'd, Bitcoin to me will be fucking dead, right? Like if eCash banks are the only way to move Bitcoin and they become KYC.
Yo. Speaking about eCash, you just did the eCash interview for Bitcoin News the other day, right? Interview. Yeah, I didn't listen to it yet, but I trolled you guys and I was like, tell them that, And then dude said that would be addressed, right? So is there like a non-custodial eCash that's coming soon or what?
So here's the thing, and this is something that I've been talking to some people about, and there is. Okay, so just for people that have no idea what eCash is. So eCash comes from Chaumian Mint, which is an early version of digital cash, pre-Bitcoin, created by Mr. Chaumian something. And what it is like basically cryptographic certificates of ownership of a balance or ownership of some underlying asset, right? And you can move the certificates around. They're denominated in units. So like they're like bills in a sense, like you have like a 1 Satoshi bill, a 10 Satoshi bill, a 100 Satoshi bill. Inside of Bitcoin, they're all 1 Satoshis, right? And I think you just kind of like stack them there and you store them in memory. They're not particularly big. They're little tokens, right? And these things you can move them around, right? So if you issue a mint, right, you have Ricardo Mint, right? And I have one mint, right? Our mint is running like a Lightning node, and then it's got probably some underlying Bitcoin on-chain thing. And then what happens is you deposit 10,000 sats to my node. I issue you the eCash. Now you have the eCash in memory, and then let's say you send it to somebody else and they're like, oh, I don't trust Juan's mint, right? They take, but they're like, but okay, let's see if they honor it. So they grab the eCash and they give it to me, and they're like, hey, I want to claim my sats for this. I take them and I send them sats via the Lightning Network, and now they're made whole. I close that position, and then you have your balance on the other mint. That's how these mints work. So they're custodial, and they have this eCash layer. The eCash layer has a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is it's basically infinitely scalable, right? Like there is no blockchain record. There's no on-chain footprint. So they're about as scalable as a fucking JPEG.
Super private too.
Super private too. They don't require any kind of information, right? The servers that are signing these transactions and doing the sat signing, they work perfectly fine on a zero knowledge basis. They're blind signing the messages. And so they don't need to know anything about who the person is. They don't need any IP addresses, none of that shit. You can use Tor and you're fine, right? So they function on a zero knowledge basis, which is great. The trade-off is that they're custodial, right? And so the question becomes, how do we mitigate that trade-off? Because obviously we don't like custodial services, right? And I think there's possibly multiple ways. There's two approaches to e-cashing Bitcoin right now. There's the Fedimint branch and then there's Cashew branch. The Fedimint branch is building a platform for multi-signature based federations to launch mints. So essentially, like you, me, and Pedro could fucking launch a mint, and we're in a federation, right?
Yeah,
that's Fedimint, and anybody could launch with Fedimint their own federated mints. And Cashew is just like, well, no, we're just gonna do like single issuer, keep it simple from that front, but we're gonna build more robust.
But I could also issue my own Cashew mint, right? Like from
you can issue your Cashew mint. Yeah, totally. So that's the two approaches right now. I think to me they're both custodial. I don't care how much multisig you do, you're still custodial.
Federated to me is like that's
there's
why
degrees of custody. Let me qualify that. If Liquid Network issues becomes a Cashew mint, I would prefer them over most other brands because they're brandless and they're, like I'm pretty sure, like I think it's much less likely that Liquid's going to screw me than random Joe's mint, right? So there's trade-offs there, but they're fundamentally still custodial. Like Liquid is fundamentally still custodial. Now, if we had covenants, I think now we start to enter an interesting territory because you could have Liquid, you could have the Bitcoin network be limiting how much Bitcoin the Liquid Network Federation could move per month, while at the same time maybe creating a path for the public to do a bank run, like do some sort of 90% consensus liquidity extraction of the multisig. So you have multisig, like you have a Bitcoin script let's just call it like a Bitcoin smart contract with two outs for the money. Either the multisig, the Liquid Federation moves $20 a month, or 90% of the private key sort of the shared UTXO pool can move all the money out, something like that. You see what I'm saying? Like the window starts to build for like a custodian that's like regulated by Bitcoin's consensus rules in a way that rug pull becomes difficult and bank runs become possible. So what we need is we need eCash mints that are rug pull resistant and bank run vulnerable. That's how I'm starting to think about it. I think it's theoretically possible. There's some people just playing with that, but we're pretty far away from any.
I feel like we need a DAO instead of a federation, like some sort of decentralized. You know how like BISC is like a DAO, like an actual DAO where like the people contributing to it get paid in the token and the tokens get interchanged for the fees and shit like that. Like we need like a real decentralized DAO instead of a federation, because federations are still run by humans. Like that shit needs to be algorithmic. It needs to be programmatic. It needs to be, like a rule set that cannot have any sort of human intervention. Like, that's the way I see eCash succeeding. Like, because I really don't trust the federation, bro. Like, that's why Liquid hasn't taken off. Like, people don't trust Liquid because it's custodial.
No, I don't think that's why. I don't think that's why. I think a lot of Bitcoiners do trust Liquid. I think the reason Liquid hasn't taken off is because Binance doesn't support it.
You think that's it?
That's fucking it, bro.
I mean, no one supports it, to be honest. Like,
and
I say that from someone that's like kind of like adjacent.
Like why is Tron a thing? Why is 70% of the Tether volume on Tron?
Because in the time when Tether became on Tron, like it was cheap as fuck and it was dollars and people know dollars and they could send them around instantly from their cell phones.
And it was on Binance.
Yeah, that's probably a huge part of it too. Yeah.
So I was talking to some OTC traders in Colombia at the Cucuta conference, and the OTC traders were telling me that if you go to the market center of Bogota in San Andresito, most of those people grab your pesos and then they go to like retail like dollar exchange places, and they say, hey, here's cash, turn it into USDT on Tron and send that Tron to this address. And they give the address to some Thailand exchange that grabs the Tether, flips it for yuan, and then like legalizes it and ships it to a Chinese bank. The bank buys through the banking system, the purchase of more goods gets settled, and then the supply of goods returns to Colombia. They close the loop, and that's like
Bro,
maybe half of
when I was
all
in Venezuela,
imports
the
at that
same shit
level.
was happening. Like that's how they do international trade because they're like banned from all
But that
shit,
means
right?
that you need a chain. But the reason why I'm telling you that story is because they're using Tron, and they're using Tron because Tron
No, Venezuela's the same
has
way,
those
man. They get
relationships,
Tether
right?
on Tron,
Yeah.
like the government, right? Like to
Yeah.
buy like products from like China or like Vietnam or wherever the fuck. Like
Yeah.
they will literally send the money in Tron, Tether, to the other country, and then the other country will receive it and then be like, all right, cool,
Flip it.
shipment's paid for, and then like send the fucking
So
goods.
So Tron has Asian connections, and they got inside of Binance. Binance is probably helping settle other kinds of trades. If Liquid was in any fucking exchange other than like these swap exchanges that take 1%, right? Then they might be interested,
The way I see it going is like Liquid is not looking for that use case or that market. Like they are trying to be the infrastructure for like the tokenization of like traditional markets. Like, and that like they want to be the infrastructure for that. That's like the way I see it, like personally. Like
I think the reality is they don't want to pay like $100,000 to Binance, $150,000 to get them listed.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like literally like they just opened up Bitfinex Securities in El Salvador, right? And now they want to like release.
But I don't see like most of the market is in Binance, right? So why wouldn't they just have Liquid BTC and Liquid Tether on Binance? They should. But Binance probably is like, I don't, fuck you guys, right?
I don't even think they care about that. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like they're not even looking.
I'm saying they're retarded for
they're
not
looking like, well, okay, you see it that way, but like the way I see it is like they're looking at like the whole like traditional investment market is going to go to tokens, and they are building like the infrastructure right now for that.
Right.
Like Larry Fink from BlackRock, for example, is like saying like, yo, tokenization is the actual like value of crypto and
shit. You think they're going to use Liquid?
I mean, maybe like first mover advantage, like who knows? Like I really don't know, but like what I'm saying is like I think that's where Liquid's focus is. They're not they don't care about being like Tether already exists, right? Like they don't care about being a Tether fucking trading platform. I think they're more looking at like, look, like the whole fucking economy is going to go in this direction, and we have the like fundamental like tech stack to do that shit with.
Right.
I don't even think they care about Tether. Like
what I was told was that it was very difficult to get Tether on Liquid. It was actually like a lot of just get begging Paolo to fucking do it. I don't know what their focus is, but it doesn't seem like to me like they're taking the opportunities that are on the table. They should be like they should have the fucking Tether market, in my opinion. They are actually able to be cheaper, and they are able to pay the fees on Bitcoin, which is beneficial to Bitcoin. Or at least
what do you think about like Lightning fucking stable? Like, why aren't there stable coins on Lightning yet? Like they've been talking about
that's like the main track that Lightning Labs is on. One of the reasons they're not moving other operations the Lightning community actually wants is because they're like on a direct path to like stable coins on top of Lightning. And so that's probably gonna come, and it's probably gonna be here soon. Like I don't know when, but they're trying. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that the reality of the market is people want to use the dollar as a unit of account, and that's going to continue to be the case for another 30 years, probably, maybe 20. And maybe they use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. If you're using Tether over Lightning, you're using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange with Tether or the dollar as a unit of account, right? And it makes no sense to be spending your Bitcoin because it costs 3% to buy it. Why are you going to spend 3% to sell it just to say that you use Bitcoin? It makes no fucking sense. It's retarded. So it makes sense in very niche pockets and the very niche markets where you can only pay with Bitcoin because of infrastructure issues or legality issues. Okay, great. But other than that, like when you have two kinds of cash, one of them is losing 10% a year, the other one is gaining 40% a year on average, right? Why would you spend the one that's going up? Just get rid of the other shit first. And that's like libertarian economics. Good cash drives out bad cash. We're just in that stage of the process. one day when gold, when
One
Bitcoin
question
has
though.
reached $10 million and is bigger than the market cap of gold, then it'll stabilize and it'll become a medium, like a unit of account, right?
One question though. You, as an early Bitcoin adopter who kind of got in it when like Bitcoin was not so valuable, you didn't spend Bitcoin like in the early days? You didn't try to spend it as much as possible?
I spent a lot more Bitcoin than I wish I'd spent,
Yeah, me too. Well, what I'm saying is like, you still don't think that applies, that you should be spending your Bitcoin? Like,
no, I mean, listen.
To me, that's one of the major flaws in Bitcoin culture is the hodl thing. Like, you don't use your Bitcoin, spend your credit card instead, like that kind of shit. Like,
well, listen, I'm a finance nerd. I'm like a good portion of what I do is try to like minimize how much money I'm losing when I'm spending money, right? And so it hurts me physically, like my gut, to lose 3% for the sake of ideology. It's like, I'd rather keep the Bitcoin. To me, savings is a use case. But I agree with you that the capacity to spend it is a fundamental pillar of Bitcoin's value and its security. And so I need to be able to spend it, and cheaply, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to spend it, right? Like, I'd rather hold it, In fact, I quite like the idea of taking loans against my Bitcoin, because that's a great way to not to pay taxes. You don't know. I don't know of one country in the world where you have to pay taxes on a loan. So you're talking about like not paying taxes. Okay, use your Bitcoin as a property, take out a cash loan against it, and get some fucking dollars from your bank account, and you're not paying taxes, right? Or get some tether loan from some DeFi bullshit, right? And then you can report it, I guess. I don't know, right?
I think me and you kind of both have a unique point of view too, because like we're both living here in Colombia, and like we spend pesos, but we earn in other currencies. So like there is the incentive to like hold the good money and spend the shit money. You know what I mean? Like, so I do agree with you on that. But like at the same point, like I feel like this whole hodl culture and like the shunning of spending Bitcoin is kind of handicapped adoption, like in a sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree that shunning the spending is dumb. But I also think that it comes from like experience, right? It's like we've like the amount of Bitcoin I've given away to get noobs in, I'd be way richer, right? And what fruit did it bring? Like, I don't know, maybe some, but like,
I don't know. Like, I've given Bitcoin to people, they always lose it. And like, I learned early on that like you can't give people Bitcoin. You just got to tell them.
I give people Bitcoin at the time. I give them like right literally, I give somebody 10,000 sats, and then I realized, wow, that's $7. It's actually quite a good little chunk of money. But I give people like 1,000 sats all the fucking time, and people.
No, but bro, like back in the day, like when I first got into Bitcoin, like I was giving people like 0.1 Bitcoin and shit, or like 0.5 Bitcoin, like when it was super cheap, right? Like like friends and family that had no fucking clue what it was, no interest, and they lost it. And like, I just feel like an asshole now.
I know.
But
so there's all these like little realities, little pragmatic issues littered throughout the industry that I think the ideological side of Bitcoin and crypto bangs against, and like that's why it's such a difficult conversation to have, because you need 2 hours to flesh it out, and or more, right? And
I feel like we could go on for another 2 hours if we had the time for it.
Yeah, for sure. No, we can do another one and follow up. I think the conversation about like how to change Bitcoin is really intriguing, because
let's do one on that.
Much better privacy. Yeah,
let's do one on that in the near future. We got some time.
Maybe you know what? Let's have one of these cats. Let's bring in like one of the Ordinals guys, like Rodimir or any of these guys, or any of the wizards. Let's just bring a wizard on, because then we can actually like. These guys are actually trying. I think the whole wizard thing is them trying to troll the maxis into wanting to change Bitcoin. I don't know if you heard, but he's one of the wizards, not Uri, but the other guy. What's his name?
Eric
did a podcast about why they're doing the wizard thing. And he said, well, the main reason is we think ossification is bad for Bitcoin right now. And we think it's bullshit. and we're trying to get the maxis to
I
hate
agree.
Bitcoin so much they're willing to change it, right? And it's working. They're trolling the old guard into
I
changing
agree,
Bitcoin,
man.
which is
Like
good. Fucking
I already
go.
multiple
Push.
times I've already said like that I believe that like this whole like we don't change Bitcoin thing is kind of bullshit. So like I agree with them on that. Like whether the direction that they're pushing for is one that I agree with is another subject.
Yeah,
but,
that's a different subject. So like the problem
yeah.
is there's definitely bad changes that could be made. So what are good changes? And I think that conversation is happening. And I don't think we need to totally rush it, but like it's important to keep pushing because otherwise it doesn't happen, right? Like otherwise we just spend another 10 years and like we still don't have CTV, you know, and like we still don't have good privacy, right? There's a bunch of stuff on the Lightning network side of things. The Lightning developers will tell you like, yeah, quality of life improvements here that would like be, you know, low risk.
Yeah. What do you think about John Carvalho's realism about the Lightning Network? Like somebody that's tried to champion Lightning and then built like a business on top of Lightning and is now coming out with like some very, I would say like unpopular realities. Like, cause what he's saying is like, yo, like, I'm not just saying this shit, bro. Like I'm building some shit on Lightning and this is what I see as the shortcomings, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's been some of the most provocative like content that's been coming out, like as far as like deflating the hopium of Lightning as like a cure-all when we obviously see that it's not what it was promised originally.
Well, I'll tell you this. So I think the only real self-custody scaling solution that has been built is Lightning. It's the only structure that we have that has a unilateral exit, which is the ability
Mercury
to
layer. Mercury layer is also on the same.
Maybe thing. Mercury. I haven't tested Mercury layer enough, but from what I've seen, I listened to a podcast. It seems that they're on that side track too. But like maybe Mercury layer. I haven't. So like the Lightning Network, despite all its flaws, it's still like a 100x or 50x scaling capacity to self custody, and we're finally getting to the point where that technology is like actually very useful. With Phoenix is a great example. You can run their nodes and all that jazz, right? So, but it's been very difficult, right? And there's a bunch of problems with Lightning, and there's a bunch of stuff that could make Lightning way more efficient and more secure, right? Like the problem that you have with your node is because there's a bunch of bullshit around the Lightning.
I think it's because I used LND too. I think LND is shit Lightning software. Like compared to like a Sync or like C Lightning or one of these other implementations, to be honest, because like I bought into the hype around LND because they were like the most vocal, like, you know, they
they're
marketed a lot of their stuff.
The fathers, you know.
Yeah, and I've had nothing but problems with LND, and like then I've had friends that run like other implementations that have told me like, nah, like LND just sucks. Like you know, like you should be using C Lightning or whatever. So like, I think that's part of it, and no disrespect to LND. Maybe you're not garbage, and maybe it was user error, but I always had problems with it, to be honest, and that's why I stopped running a Lightning. But yo, what are you working on right now? What can you promote? Like, what do you want to let the people know about?
Follow my podcast. You know, like we're having conversations, trying to have conversations with people on the cutting edge, trying to have engaging conversations about it. You know, just doing cycles around Bitcoin from every dimension. We've had some really good mining conversations. There's a potential to end the reign of the big ASIC miner. So go check out that as the BitAxe conversation we had.
Yeah, dude, that shit is sick. The BitAxe, the open source Bitcoin miners, those are dope.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that could save like the corporate mining centralization.
I agree. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then I also have like a Spanish version of it that we're slowly editing and publishing. So, but if you go to juangalt.com, you'll see like a Spanish hablemos de Bitcoin, and that takes you to the Spanish one. So just subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get the podcast on your inbox. We're also on Spotify and the Fountain app, and I'm working on a self-custody book slowly, but I am working on it. If you watch my talk pinned on my Twitter profile, that speech is a really good intro to where that book is going to go. And hopefully self-custody won't be priced out by the time I finish the book.
That's what's up, bro. Well, hey, man, like, thank you for being the first guest, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Like, I always love talking to you and, having heated arguments about Bitcoin. And, thanks for being the first guest on the Outlaw Crypto Podcast, bro.
Thank you so much, dude. We need more conversations like this, so keep them coming, bro.